I quit my job. As the title of the video says, yesterday I quit my job. It wasn't to pursue any grand dream that I have or get ready for another job. I mean, I do have something lined up towards the beginning of April, but that's, still some time away yet. For the first time since my teenage years, like being 18, maybe 17, I had a job that allowed me not only to put some money away for a rainy day, but to, try and build something for myself. I was a bit more responsible for people and myself and, the things that happen around me, and that was a good thing for me. It taught me a lot about myself and, work in general and how I like to work. I worked there for about 2 years, and towards the end, I really only found myself staying there for the people that were around me, which at a certain point really stopped feeling fair to me. Although to some, it might be like kind of arbitrary. I never really got like pat on the back for the performances that I had. And the time that I spent there stopped feeling as productive as it once did. At one point, I just felt like I was always learning something and that it was a good place to be, and that, subsided over time. Now, it could be because of the economy. I was working in retail, so the changing of the seasons, but, the business kind of started to take a dive. It wasn't my business or anything. But it started to take a dive, and I really noticed some change in me, while I was working there once that started happening. Coincidentally, I was promoted within my department as a supervisor, and my manager, the one person who was probably going to be around to teach me, they were fired within the same kind of 2-week period. So during the last maybe 6 months or so, I really had to just kind of rely on my wit, my problem-solving ability, and honestly, on some days, just dumb luck to make sure that everything kept running smoothly, as far as my team went. I would ask for help from my superiors and those around me, but it always felt like there was a level of competency within my role, as well as, some other roles that I learned while I was there, that no one else really wanted to achieve. And it isn't necessarily their fault or anything like that. I'd probably blame more so the management and the company at large. I don't know. All of that to say, I didn't like where my life was headed when working there, so I want to make a change. Whether that change is for the better or not, I guess we'll have to find out. I guess without speaking about the job too much, in terms of what I did, I kind of just want to speak on how it negatively affected me. I've never been a big fan of long commutes and stuff like that. And initially when I got the job, I probably lived max 10 minutes away. However, with some changes to my family dynamic and moving around the city and stuff, that 10 minutes jumped up to 30, 45 minutes on some days with bad traffic. I know, maybe a couple times with construction took me an hour, or something like that. I don't know. I decided not to let the long commutes or anything just affect me, and I just wanted. At the time, I was just thankful for having the opportunity because I'd been out of work for the entire summer before getting that job. Originally, I was night shift, 4 p.m. to midnight. Sometimes a little bit later, but that wasn't very often, which is totally. I mean, I was cool with that. I've never been one to prefer one shift over the other, unless it's swing shift. I hate fucking swing shift. And I figured maybe I spoke to my boss and asked if I can come in 30 minutes early, not only so I can kind of get a head start on the day, but also just make sure I round out my 40 hours each week, because at the time they weren't factoring in the 30-minute lunch or whatever into the schedule. So I just wanted to make sure I was doing the best job that I could. Even though I worked at 4 o'clock, I was leaving the house at, even 3:30, right? Probably could leave, just before 3 or about 3 o'clock, make it on time. I was leaving at 2:45 a lot of those days, 2:30. Most days I would say probably leaving the house at 2:30. So I really wasn't even getting to spend time with my family or anything like that, because I would just want to be at work early. And then some days I would be extra early and clock in, for a little extra overtime. And as far as I know, like for the first time probably ever, I really shined in this position. Like it was something I really enjoyed doing, and I didn't want to rip my eyes out every day, like thinking about going, waking up and going. I quickly started to rise up, like, in positions and stuff like that. Got the lead, like shift lead position pretty early on, and then the supervisor position maybe like 6 to 8 months later. But with the boss getting fired and everything like that, it was kind of tough to be able to learn. I kind of just had to figure it out as I went, and for a while, it was sustainable, it was okay. And a lot of changes started getting made and responsibilities added without the compensation to back it up and stuff like that. It just kind of started to feel unfair and like I was being taken advantage of. Anyways, these long 10-hour days just punching away, trying my best to just be some kind of like robot or detached from how I felt and detached from what was going on outside of work, just trying my best to be locked in for work all the time. I mean, driven, yeah, but I definitely started to see probably about the midway point how this, line of thinking could affect me, like outside of work. As the days went on and my responsibilities grew and everything, as did my list of complaints when I got home, to speak with my loved ones and everything. And for me, I've never been much for like taking the stuff that happens at work, back home. But for some reason, I had a really hard time like maintaining with the pressure of the stuff going on at work and, balancing that with home and everything. I kind of started to crack, In February of last year, I got really sick and I had to take a month out of work, and I was just worried I was going to lose my job the whole time. Probably didn't help with like, healing up. I was stressed out every day. My body was stressed out from, being, having problems or whatever. And then my mind was stressed out because I was like, oh my God, what if I don't have a job or whatever? It's a job I really like. And you know what I mean? It was kind of one of those things. But, thankfully I was able to make it back to work. I made a recovery, made it back to work, and I, kept it going. And, thank God right now, at least for right now, I'm in decent enough health. But it was kind of then I started to notice how, like, the long days of, like, there was really nobody else, at least in my department, that was kind of going hard like I was. So I really started to notice, like, how it affected me, not only mentally but physically. And then I guess kind of just reached a boiling point over this last month or so. There's been a bunch of changes made, not only for my team, but the teams around me, and it's been a frustrating experience to say the least. Which is kind of sucky. Like I feel like usually at work I was trying to bring people laughs and make sure that everyone's having a good time and that we're getting the job done, and everyone's just, excited to be there, and that those feelings really started to go away. And I kind of felt myself being like bitter and confused and upset why the people around me weren't like getting it right. But at that point I kind of had to look inward and just think that this was a problem, that it was a problem for me. And based on that alone, I knew it was time to go. Like, I was having anxiety attacks and panic attacks, however you want to look at it, going into work some days, or I'm at work and I'm just nervous about this or that thing, going right or going wrong, and having to, fix that or whatever the case is. But one thing I guess that really irked me is that people from like the upper management couldn't even get my name right, dude. Like, it's kind of a shitty feeling to like, that you're going hard for whoever the fuck, trying to make sure that your job is getting right and that, like, getting done right and then some. But having them like forget my name or give me like say my wrong name or whatever, that honestly might sound silly to some of you guys, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back, honestly, because I'm just like, I'm just working so hard for you guys. You guys can't even bother to remember my name. It's like kind of a simple thing. I'm not asking for much. There was mad days of working by myself, not asking for help, just, picking up slack for everybody around me, doing work outside of, what I was actually tasked with, not even ever asking anything for it. And it kind of just became expected of me to shine like brighter than the rest of the people around me without the benefits of doing any of that. And yesterday I kind of just said, fuck that. I worked my shift like I normally would. I gave up my badge, said my goodbyes and went home and enjoyed dinner with my family. And I just think, I don't know, like I just would rather, maybe struggle a little bit than have to deal with that on the day-to-day, the anxious, that type of stuff, that type of feelings and that line of thinking can honestly hurt your body over a long period of time. So I didn't want that for myself anymore, and I knew it was time to make a change. And so now I'm kind of posing myself a question, like, what's next, right? I can get back into like the gig work and the side hustle stuff until I get back on and, kind of figure out what my next, I guess, career moves are going to be. I've been entertaining wanting to start a business or like a food truck, small hole in the wall, or something that I can say that I'm proud of. That's for me. I don't know. Maybe I can study, try to get some certificates and learn some tech stuff and, kind of get into tech that way. Maybe build some projects of my own and hustle, in the meantime. But all of it just seems so mundane and tiresome, honestly, like spiritually tiresome. I understand that, we need to work to make a living and to get the things that we want. I get that. I'm old enough now. But it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like enough of us take a step back every once in a while to like ask, if this is really fair for humans, you know what I mean? With the technology and all the things that we have, I don't know. I'm not saying I want a robot to take my job, but I know that not all the robots that are out there, I guess taking jobs or whatever, are out there doing the right thing. And I know that now, more than ever, in order to have your own little slice, I guess, you have to play what I like to call the game, I guess. I don't mean like gaming or video poker or anything like that. And shout out to everyone using stake or gambling online or whatever. Crazy people. I'm just referring to this tricky little game we call life here in the USA, honestly. I wasn't born into like a super wealthy family or anything like that. And I don't, detest them or feel bad about it. I love, my life as it is. I just think that I had to make a change where I was spending all my time. And that's, unfortunately where I was getting my money at the same time. So I think if I am able to find something that excites me and, truly brings that spark back, then I'll know when I find it, right? I just don't really know what it is yet. So I guess when I ask myself, what's next? I don't really know the answer, but I know what the answer feels like. I'll be trying to like document some of this process here in the coming months or whatever and see if I can't find something that really sticks with me or something that I really want to do going forward. There's so many things to do, I kind of almost get that choice paralysis where I sit back and almost do nothing. So I'm just going to go and try things and do my best. And I just got to challenge myself to find it. But I don't know. That's me. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And if you watched the video and you made it this far, say what's up. And I hope you guys have a good day. Peace.